So this is my Stardust reaction video for Ant-Man and the Wasp. Not necessarily a spoiler review because there's really only one thing in the movie that I want to talk about, and those are the two stingers at the end. So this is going to be mainly dedicated, once again, to you guys out there in the world of Stardust. If you don't know what Stardust is, it's a free app where you can do quick 30-second reactions to a movie, TV show, trailer, theme park ride, if it's a simulator ride, and you get your thoughts out there quick, and it's straight to the point. I use it a lot when I review movies as soon as I get out of the theater before I work on my full-fledged review. I do it for certain episodes of TV shows because I don't have time to review every TV show on YouTube. And I also do it for trailer reviews since I don't have the time to do trailer reactions or reviews on this channel. And it's also a great tool if you want to get out there within the YouTube circle, and a lot of other noticeable faces on YouTube are on there. Besides myself, there's The Real Rejects, Adorkable Rachel, Late to the Party, Finally Tailored, Epic Voice Guy, just a ton of people that you'll recognize from the YouTube movie review community. And if you haven't joined, you could just do it by going to your phone, downloading the app, create an account. Go ahead, follow me, RealMrRobinson, or you could just use the link right here, stardust.app.link/RealMrRobinson. And the next time I call out for Stardust reaction videos on Stardust or Twitter, go ahead, tag me in those reactions, and I will pick out the best ones to feature. But for now, let's get into Ant-Man and the Wasp. We're going to feature a couple of Stardust reactions as I slowly work my way to talking about the big stinger at the end. Alright, so the first Stardust reaction comes from BJ Camp 2011.
Ant-Man and the Wasp. I had such a good time with this movie. It improved on everything that I liked from the first movie. The action was way better, choreography and the filming of the action and the effects of the shrinking and growing. So much fun. Evangeline Lilly kicked ass as the Wasp. I really enjoyed Ghost. She was a really cool villain with really neat special effects on her and a great backstory. Hell of a first stinger, and I really enjoyed Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer. Maybe not even enough of her, and she looks phenomenal with that gray hair.
Yes, she does, and I agree with him on a lot of points. This movie, in my opinion, is just infinitely better than the first one. Not to the extent where it's a great, amazing movie, but this movie had the advantage of sticking with Peyton Reed from the beginning, rather than him taking over from Edgar Wright after he and Marvel just parted ways after the first Ant-Man. And the effects of Ant-Man and the Wasp shrinking and growing are still good. Ghost's effects are actually pretty cool, where she's kind of glitching out. You can see her actions before she actually does them. It's a really neat effect. Is it even right to call her a villain? Because unlike Thanos and Killmonger, Ghost didn't really have any straight motivation to take over the world. She just wanted to try to heal herself, and that's the whole backstory with her, is that she basically got through the Fantastic Four syndrome, where she was in an accident and it kind of affected her body, and now she's just going around trying to cure it, and Hank Pym has developed a technology to basically help her cure it. But the way she goes about doing it is kind of villainous, but she's not really a villain. So, I mean, I could let that slide. She's no Killmonger, no Thanos, but the main story is about trying to find Janet Van Dyne, and it's just more of a personal story for Hope Van Dyne and Hank Pym. Alright, the next Stardust reaction comes from Jackson Hendricks, and he's probably a little more enthusiastic than I am, especially when it comes to the first Ant-Man movie.
So I'm actually a huge fan of the first Ant-Man film. It's one of my favorite MCU films, and overall I really enjoyed this one too. I thought it was overall just a ton of fun. Evangeline Lilly and Paul Rudd are fantastic together. The whole action scenes were really fun, and it's overall kind of a nice palate cleanser after the emotional trauma of the movie that was Infinity War, and it's fun. It's a fun movie. It's not one of the better MCU films, but it's good.
Yeah, it's not one of the best MCU movies. In fact, I think, I don't know which one is my least favorite Phase 3 film. It's either between this, Doctor Strange, or Guardians Volume 3. That hasn't even come out yet. Volume 2, I'm sorry. It definitely was much lighthearted and a lot more fun than Infinity War, which, after Infinity War, we kind of needed this. I mean, there were two movies this year that really brought me on the verge of tears. One was Won't You Be My Neighbor, and the other was Infinity War. Won't You Be My Neighbor is a mix of happy and sad crying, and then Infinity War is just traumatic, this is so depressing crying. Okay, depressing might be a little bit strong, but it definitely showed that the Marvel Cinematic Universe does have balls. So yeah, in the long run, it's well deserved that we got something that was a little smaller, no pun intended, a little more personal and not as grand and epic, at least until the mid-credits stinger comes up, where They get Janet Van Dyne out of the quantum realm, and they're constantly doing experiments to go into the quantum realm and get energy to give Ghost. And she's no longer dying, but she still needs a lot of energy to kind of stay strong. So I love the experience watching this with a bunch of my friends. We knew something was going to happen. We know somebody was not going to make it out in the end. So what happens is they send Scott Lang into the quantum realm as Janet, Hope, and Hank are outside trying to get all the data and do all that computer stuff, and then drag Scott out once he's got enough energy to supply Ghost. And then Hope Van Dyne gives the countdown of when they're going to bring him back out, and it goes 5, 4, 3, and then nothing. And Scott's like, hey guys, are you going to pull me back out? This is not a joke. And then we cut back to outside where there's nothing but 3 piles of ash. And you could just hear the air sucked out of the room as this was going on. Like, everyone was like, and we knew something like that was going to happen because it's going to have to lead back into Infinity War. But I thought that would be Scott's daughter that would get the shaft in terms of being turned into dust. I mean, maybe she did. Who knows? Oh, shit. But anyway, all of them are gone. Janet's dust, Hank Pym's dust, Hope is dust, and Scott is stuck in the quantum realm. And it's, oh my god, like, it will remind you of the trauma that was Infinity War after Thor failed to go for the head. Yeah, for all the shit people give Star-Lord about ruining their chance to actually win and get the gauntlet off, Thor really should have gone for the head. But then we wouldn't have a 4th Avengers movie. Because it's pretty much that shot in the trailer where you see a giant ant playing drums, which, I mean, it's amusing. The one thing that works about that scene is the emergency broadcast going off and how the world just seems very dead and empty. And then you have this ant that doesn't have a care in the world just playing the drums with his arms. But for me, what makes it all worth sitting through is that little end title where you usually see ... will return. This one you see Ant-Man and the Wasp will return. And then a question mark fades in and everybody in the crowd went, what? No! No! But yeah, in the long run, I could see people having a problem with the end stinger, but the mid stinger is definitely worth waiting for. Alright, the next Stardust reaction comes from a newcomer, actually. This is Real School, and his very first Stardust reaction happens to be for Ant-Man and the Wasp. So if you like this reaction here and you're on Stardust, you can go ahead, give him a follow, and tell him that the real Mr. Robinson sent you.
Okay, so my first reaction on Stardust, and it's about Ant-Man and the Wasp. And guess what? Yeah, it's a blast. It's a Marvel movie. It's a lot of fun. But, like all the other Marvel Phase 3 films, it suffers from too much silliness. Now, we expect that in Ant-Man, but if there's no consequences, where are we really going with it? We can take a break. It can be fun, but give me something that's going to make me interested. Give me some dramatic tension. Is that too much to ask?
Dude, we just got off an Infinity War. How much do you want us to suffer? And Phase 3 is so silly. I think Phase 2 was even more silly, and definitely not for the right reasons. I mean, if you look at Thor the Dark World, all the comedy in that movie just falls flat. Okay, maybe not all the comedy. I do like that one shot where Thor hangs his hammer on a coat rack. That's funny. that got me. But Phase 3, I think, has been Marvel's darkest phase yet. Civil War was not silly. And then Infinity War, I don't know how you could look at Infinity War and say, why are you being so silly? Because did we see the same movie with that? And with Ant-Man and the Wasp, I mean, you kind of expect it to be a little more lighthearted because you really can't take something like Ant-Man and the Wasp seriously. And even if Infinity War was not dark and serious and depressing at the end, we also came off of Black Panther, which was another movie that's not silly, but Black Panther was grand and epic, Infinity War was grand and epic, so at this point, Marvel is just doing a victory lap, because in terms of big budget movies, they've won the year. This movie being smaller and a little more silly was well needed, and I definitely appreciate it for that. Alright, I got one more Stardust reaction, and this comes from somebody that I know, one of our big super Stardusters out there, Xavier Thomas.
I'm still coming up from under Infinity War, but I still need my Marvel fix, just in a more toned-down capacity, and what better film than Ant-Man and the Wasp? Evangeline, Lilly, and Paul Rudd still have tremendous chemistry. I love all the characters, all the jokes. This is truly a fun film, but I have to admit, I like the first one better. The story in this film felt very convenient and matter-of-fact, as well as the villain being very lackluster. It's a good time, I was entertained, but I think I just expected things to go differently.
Okay, I could give him that right there. I still like this one better than the first Ant-Man, and I think maybe it's a bias, but it all has to do with the Wasp and finally being able to see that character on screen in costume and kicking ass. But there were a lot of jokes in this movie that did hit me in terms of just laughing out loud. Which I gotta say, after seeing the press screening, I've been seeing a lot of TV spots that have just been showing things that aren't in the trailer, which I'd expect from Sony, but Disney? But then again, those are TV spots. A lot of the Star Wars TV spots have shown a lot that weren't in the trailer also. But anyway, one of the jokes that really hit me hard is when Scott Lang is at Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco trying to go after Walton Goggins' character, who stole the Lang's office that shrunk down because it contains the thing to get into the quantum realm, to try to find Janet Van Dyne. Wow, I needed a breather after saying all that. By the way, he calls upon one of his aunts, and then a seagull just flies in, eats the ant, and I was probably the loudest one laughing in the theater when that happened because it was just something that caught me off guard. And then he tries to call various other ants that he's named with the ant pun inside of the name, and a bunch of seagulls just come in, swoop down, grab the ants until he finally gets one, which is one of the best jokes for me in any movie, is when there's something that's so outlandish or so funny that you don't see it coming. And I don't really know of any areas in the movie that were convenient, as he said, because movies are just a matter of coincidence, because you wouldn't have a movie if it weren't for all these events that happen to line up with one another. It's not like with The Amazing Spider-Man 2, where everything is just convenient to the point of like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. But still, he makes a lot of valid points, and that pretty much does it. Those are all the Stardust reactions I have to feature for Ant-Man and the Wasp. I haven't seen it again myself, making it the first Marvel movie that I did not see on the opening weekend because I saw it at a press screening, but I would like to try to see it again. If not in theaters, then definitely on Blu-ray, because I like it that much to buy it. And plus, I'm a completionist. I own Thor the Dark World, for God's sakes. I feel like it's a big accomplishment to own all the MCU movies. But that does it for this video. If you want to be featured on the next Stardust reaction, just go ahead and download the app on your phone. If you haven't, go ahead and create an account, follow me using the link right here, stardust.app.link/RealMrRobinson. Tag me in your reactions once I make the call out on Stardust and Twitter, and whichever reactions I find the best, I will feature them in that video. So until next time, I hope you enjoyed this review. Go ahead, subscribe to the channel, like, leave a comment, tell me what you thought of the movie. Go ahead, support my Patreon page, follow me on social media, and until next time, this is the Real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one